Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Mind Map. Today's topic of discussion is role of extremists in Indian national movement. First of all, we will discuss about Indian national movement, causes of rising extremists, prominent extremist leaders, methods of extremist leaders, and impact and limitation of the extremist. First of all, let's discuss about Indian national movement. The Indian independence movement was a series of historic events with the ultimate aim of ending British rule in India, also known as British Raj. It helped to unite disparate people and social groups into one nation, shaping an important period of Indian history. It was only in the 19th century that the concept of a national identity and national consciousness emerged. The social, economic, and political factors had inspired the people to define and achieve their national identity. The social and religious reform movements of the 19th century also contributed to the feeling of nationalism. Now moving on to causes of rising extremists. Who are extremists? The early Congress leaders were referred to as moderates, because they placed their demands before the government always in the form of petitions and worked within the framework of law. A new class of Indian national leaders emerged at the very beginning of the 20th century. They were different from the existing ones in their individual and radical thoughts. The period after 1905 till 1918 can be referred to as the era of passionate nationalist or Garam Dal. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal, that is Lal Bal Pal, were important leaders of this radical group. Causes of rising extremism are: following are the reason for rise of extremists in India. Moderate leaders were not able to produce any positive results from their negotiations with the British. Limitations of the moderate leaders in suggesting required reforms led the extremist leaders to take an aggressive approach. The Britishers' decision of the partition of Bengal in 1905. In 1903, the Delhi Darbar was held during famine. Other national movements, such as those of Turkey, Persia, and Egypt, have also motivated Indian leaders to take aggressive actions against the British. As people became more educated and were exposed to Western thoughts and philosophies, they began to realize important ideals of democracy and freedom. Prominent extremist leaders. Following are the important extremist leaders. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Born as 𝐾𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢 Tilak in 1856 in Ratnagiri, modern-day Maharashtra. He was commonly known as Lokmanya Tilak. He was also called the father of Indian unrest. He was opposed to moderate ways and views and had a more radical and aggressive stance against British rule. He was one of the first advocates of Swaraj or self-rule. Lala Lajpat Rai. He was born on January 28, 1865 in Firozpur district of Punjab. He was a prominent nationalist leader who played an important role in India's struggle for freedom. He was badly injured in police lathi charge on the activists who were protesting the arrival of Simon Commission and died a few days later due to the injuries. Bipin Chandra Pal. He was born on 7th November 1858 in Poil village in Sylhet district on present-day Bangladesh. He is known as the father of revolutionary thoughts in India. He used his profession of journalism in spreading patriotic awareness. Now let's discuss about methods of extremist leaders. They believed in organizing mass protest, criticizing government policies and boycotting foreign goods and use of Swadeshi, that is homemade goods, etc. They believed that freedom was their right, boycott of foreign goods and promotion of Swadeshi goods. They tried to use their own cultural and social symbols, festivals, meals, etc. to cement the growing tendency of nationalism. Boycott of foreign goods and promotion of Swadeshi goods. Each extremist leader possesses pride in Indian culture, history, and own uniqueness. And all extremist leaders believe in direct confrontation rather than persuasion. Now let's discuss about impacts and limitations of the extremists. First of all, impacts. There were significant changes in the nature of Indian nationalism under extremist leadership. The extremists emphasized the mass agitation against foreign rule by launching political movements. They brought about an involvement of the common people in agitations against British rule. They emotionally charged people on the concept of nationalism, which was based on rich interpretation of Indian religious traditions. Limitation. The definition of Swaraj by extremist leaders was unclear. Aurobindo Ghosh Swaraj meant complete independence from foreign rule, but for Tilak it was a kind of self-government under the British framework. They failed to create a mass movement. The isolation of Muslims and communalism started gaining momentum, and the British Empire instigated it. There was no ideological coherence among the extremist leaders. They couldn't bring the rural people within the radius of their ideology. Now moving on to practice question. When was Congress split into two groups, extremist and moderates? 1905, 1906, 1907 or 1908? And now main question. To what extent did the role of the moderates prepare a base for the wider freedom movement? Comment. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.